Hello and welcome to our PARCC Test Administrator tutorial. This video will help to explain your responsibilities as Test Administrator for the day of PARCC testing, as well as show you what the PearsonAccessNext testing management environment looks like. Your responsibilities as Test Administrator are as follows. Receive the tested materials from School Test Coordinator and track the receipt using the computer-based chain of custody form. Managing test sessions and review each student's status in the testing environment, which means you'll have to log into PearsonAccessNext, start test sessions, unlock the correct unit for testing, lock the unit for absent students, resume students' test as needed, ensure tests have been submitted after they have completed the units. You are also responsible for distributing test materials to the students and helping them log into TestNav, which is where they will be taking the test. Keep time, supervise test administration and troubleshoot computer-based testing as needed, and at the end of the testing day you will need to return the materials to the School Test Coordinator and report any irregularities during testing. Let's get started by taking a look at PearsonAccessNext, which is where you will administer the PARCC test. The web address is nj.PearsonAccessNext.com. For the purpose of this video, I will be using the training site, which is exactly the same as the real PARCC site. So what you see here is exactly what it's going to look like when you administer the test. The first thing you want to do as Test Administrator is sign in. You should have received your login credentials in an email, but if you forget your username and password, you can always use these two features right here to have them reset for you. I'm going to go ahead and log in so you can see what the PearsonAccessNext testing environment looks like. You want to double check that you are in the correct PARCC year and PARCC session. You can see that I have selected 2016 Spring PARCC. That's the right session for this upcoming PARCC test. You also want to make sure that your school is listed correctly as well. This should all be done for you by default, but it's better to check and make sure. Now that you are ready to get started as the test administrator, you're going to spend most of your time in the Students in Session under the testing menu. So you're going to go to Testing and then to Students in Session, and this screen is where you're going to live during the PARCC test. There's nowhere else you need to go. Everything you need to do is accomplished from this screen. The first thing you want to do when you get here is go to the session list and find the session that you are administering. The way we have sessions set up and named is by school-test name-last name and then first initial. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to type in my last name and you will see that it presents all the sessions that I have been assigned. After finding the correct session that you're going to administer, just click on it and it will display the details of your session. The first thing that you should do is set the display to 100. So that you have all of your students on one page instead of having the default 25. So now that you have everything you're responsible for on one page, that makes things a lot easier to manage. At this point, you will have already handed out your testing tickets to each student, which contain their username and password for the test. When you're ready to begin, you will need to hit the green Start button. That button will go from a green Start to a red Stop, and you will see that Unlock feature is now displaying. There are no seal codes for this year for each section. You are responsible for unlocking the proper unit that is being tested. Once the session has been started, students can now log into PARCC. Let's take a look at what your student is going to see at this point after you hit the Start button. In our district, all students will be using their Chromebook. Please refer to the instructions that will be provided to you to assist students to the testing application on their device. Once all students are ready to log in, they will use the login information that was distributed to them. You will also want to have students test their audio in their headphones before they sign in because they will not be able to change it once they log in. I'm going to go ahead and log in as a sample student, and you will see that our student can see grade 7 ELA units 1, 2, and 3, but he or she cannot start them because you have not yet unlocked that unit. So remember, once you hit the Start button, kids can log in, but they cannot start the testing unit until you unlock it. Let's jump back into the Test Administrator area and unlock a unit. To unlock a unit, you will have to click on this button and drag it to the right. You can't just click on it to unlock it. I'm going to unlock Unit 1 for everybody in the session, And if we go back to the student view and hit refresh, you'll notice that the student can now click the start button for Unit 1 and begin the test. As a reminder, test administrators must relock the test unit being tested for any absent students. So for instance, let's say this first student is absent. I want to pull down the black arrow next to the ready, and I want to lock his test. Don't forget, if you ever encounter problems while administering the PARCC, you can try any one of the following to fix the issue. The first step is to just hit refresh. If that doesn't correct the problem, log off and sign back in. If a student is having an issue and the test freezes or they get bumped off, simply have them restart their Chromebook and log back into the test. 90% of the issues that we had last year were solved by one of these three things. So now, as you can see, we have unlocked Unit 1. When we jump back into the student view, you will see that the student can now start Unit 1. Students will be able to click Start Test Now, and this part pretty much looks the same as last year. Students can review questions, they can bookmark questions to come back later, they have the notepad, they have the answer eliminator over here, they have the magnifying glass, and they have the show line reader, which allows them to read one line at a time. These are features that all students have, and that's where they are. So let's say the student is taking the test and they are done, and they exit, or the computer crashes, or they have to excuse themselves for the bathroom. Whatever the case may be, let's say that your student got out of the test. Just like last year, we're going to have to resume the student's test. If we come back over here to the test administrator view, you should hit refresh button, and if you're looking at this bar area up top, you will see that we have one student exited. Gray means ready, green means they are actively taking the test, and red means they have exited a session for whatever reason. In order for them to log back in after the issue is resolved or they have returned from the bathroom, you will need to resume their test. To resume a student's test, you can click on the down arrow and choose Resume, and that student will automatically be able to log back in, and it changes to a yellow resume. When everybody in your session has exited and finished the unit, you will need to slide the lock back over to the lock position for that session. This will allow the next unit to be unlocked and the process repeated for subsequent units of the test. When the unit you are administering is completed and relocked, you can simply click on the little guy up here and sign out. And that's all there is to administering the PARCC test. Thank you.